The Pisces life, the Pisces life.
Hello and welcome. This is the third edition of the Current Flow, special reports and curated content produced by the Pisces Life Network. Welcome back to our continued coverage of the COVID-19 experiences in both Chicago and Detroit. I am just Letitia, co-host of the Current Flow, and on the other microphone is...
Hello, listeners. It is your other co-host, Kai Love. Welcome to the third edition of this special report. We continue bringing you curated content about us as hashtag Black and hashtag Brown people working, living, and adapting throughout the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, tonight we have a very special guest. We are welcoming Charles Smith Jr., a Detroit musician and media entrepreneur and COVID-19 survivor, to our show. Welcome, Charles.
Well, thank you. I'm just Letitia. I'm used to calling you Letitia. Thank you, ladies, for so much for having me on the show today. I'm so excited to be here, just to share with you all and let this evening be a whole vibe, really. I'm just excited.
Absolutely.
I like that. So welcome to the show, Charles. First off, we are so glad that you have joined us and are willing to share your story with us. And most certainly and most importantly, we are so glad that you survived COVID-19.
Yes.
Before we begin with your story, can you give our listeners a little of your background as a musician and media entrepreneur so that they can, know you a little bit better and you become part of the family?
Well, I'll be glad to. First of all, thank you again for letting me just hang out with you all this evening. I think we're gonna have a fabulous time. I got the chance to do music. I fell in love with music at a very, very young age. And parents, my grandmother, they saw the gift in me and they put me through, I went to study at the Center of Creative Studies, ended up coming to Michigan State and transferred to Belmont University, where I kind of cut my teeth in production and music performance and things like that. I got a chance to work with CeCe Winans, who ended up becoming our on the board of directors, the first, I think, African-American on the board of trustees at Belmont during that time. And the first non-Southern Baptist. Belmont is a Southern Baptist school, and the first non-Southern Baptist. So she was just created history. But I did create history with her, I did her first Always Sisters conference that she had in Nashville. And it's just a wonderful experience. And that's how we got the chance to work together. And so I got to know her son and things like that. But and from there, I got a chance to play, for her friends, which are all artists. So I got a chance to work with Mary and Kelly Price and things like that. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And while I was at Michigan State, I tried to be productive. I was I served as the Minister of Music for 3 years for the Michigan State University Gospel Chorale.
Award-winning, right? The Gospel Chorale was award-winning. Yes.
Award-winning. We've backed up everyone from the late Daryl Coley to John P. Key, and I mean the list just goes on and on. We just got a chance to work. We over for Ben Tankard and the Tribe of Judah. We just got a chance to do some wonderful, wonderful things. We over for the Clark sisters.
Wow.
So he's a heavyweight, essentially.
Yes.
That's what we wanted to bring him in as. Let's get into your journey. We have a few questions that we want to ask, and we really want you to paint the picture for our listeners. So I guess it's best to just really start with your timeline. When did you start experiencing discomfort or COVID-19 symptoms, and what were those symptoms?
Mine was kind of different because I felt like I had a cough that lasted for 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh. Wow.
It's not something to me that came, and I didn't know that's what it was. And this is even before they had even started. I had a cough that started in the middle of January.
Okay.
And I really wasn't really sick. I didn't have any flu or any pneumonia or anything like that. I dealt with congestive heart failure, but then it wasn't congestive heart failure because that's a symptom of the coughing is that. So I thought it was that, and it wasn't that. And time went on. So about mid-March, early in March, I had to go into the hospital because my electrolytes had fallen because I deal with chronic kidney disease or chronic kidney failure in stage 3. And so they were concerned about that. So the problem was that they dealt with that. But I was like, listen, I'm still coughing. What's going on? And they kind of glossed over it and didn't think anything about that. Well, a couple of weeks later, the cough kept going, and I'm taking, all kind of cough medicine for it, Corsi and everything else, cold medicine, and it's still not going away.
And this is still January, right?
This is down in March.
Oh, now in March. Okay.
Down in March.
Right, because you said you went in because of one issue,
yep.
and they were like, oh, well, it potentially is because of your pre-existing condition.
Right, and they didn't.
Okay.
But they never did address the cause.
Not at all.
Wow.
So here we go. So we move on to the next phase is now I'm back at work and things like that. And by this time we're working from home. I go to work and, I'm just not feeling well. And just my body, something's just saying it's not right. I'm having trouble, a little trouble. I'm really coughing more than anything else, but my chest feels funny. I'm not really having a shortness of breath yet, and that's one of the symptoms, right? I'm having shortness of breath. So I go to the doctor because I try not to wait, and I'm going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay, great.
I'm about to talk about waiting in just a minute. But so they say, listen, man, they tested me when I got in for COVID-19, and then they admitted me. They said, you got, pneumonia, which is probably, really the COVID-19. So they didn't know for another week. They let me home on Friday, and then Friday night I got home. So all Saturday I'm having trouble breathing now. Now I'm having trouble breathing. I'm having trouble catching my breath, and I'm coughing up blood this time.
Oh wow!
And so my mother had she had some trouble, with her heart and things like that. And they gave her an oxygen tank and sent her home with one, but she hadn't used it in months. And she was like, and my mother was like, I'll say, if you're having trouble, she was like, you're having trouble breathing, I'm gonna send the oxygen tank to your apartment with Monique. And they did. And I had it. I had as max as it could. And I slept through the night, but I still had trouble breathing. I still would walk across the room and cough for like 2 minutes.
Was it a violent cough? Was it a productive, as we say in medicine, and the listeners know that I have worked in medical education, we call it a productive cough. So you're actually presenting or producing phlegm or getting that stuff out. Was it a dry cough like they've been describing, or was yours more productive?
It was dry. The only thing that came up was
the blood.
Redness, and it was blood.
Have mercy, Jesus. Okay, keep going.
So that Sunday afternoon, my sister's like, I'm coming to get you. I asked my sister hypothetically what that meant. She was like, Charles, are you coughing up blood? I was like, I'm not saying that I am, just saying that if it's red, does that mean that it is blood? And so she's like, you know what? We're going to the hospital again. And this is literally not even 48 hours. It's like a day and a half later.
Wow.
Okay.
And Sunday afternoon. And so I get there and the doctor, they took me, this time it's different. This time there's checkpoints. I went to Henry Ford in West Bloomfield, and there are checkpoints now when you got to go in. So you go in, you drive about 200 feet. There's someone waiting, asking what you coming here for, and I told them they let you, depending on what it is, they let you go forward. They tested me. They took my vitals while I was inside my car. They let me inside. So the triage was in my car.
In your car,
wow. In my car, teacher. They took my vitals. It was like, well, you're at 89-90 for your oxygen, and I still had the oxygen tank connected to me. So they were like, this is not, good. The doctor had looked at my test. They gave me a chest X-ray, and she came in, and the only thing she said, Mr. Smith, your lungs are so sick, we're gonna have to put you on life support. We're gonna make you some different. We're gonna make you some decisions.
Wait a minute. Wait.
I know it hurts. Full disclosure for the Pisces Life listeners too. I have known Charles for a very long time. So I've kind of heard some of these bits and pieces, and this is so emotional. So I'm going to mute out and let y'all finish.
Okay, it's okay. Because it was emotional. Because the hard part is when you're by yourself, it's one thing that they tell you something and you got somebody to kind of lean on there, but you're by yourself because they don't let anybody into the hospital.
With you, right. So So just so that we capture this appropriately, because like my mind is just blown right now. You were released from the hospital on a Friday.
Mhm.
You went home, you slept overnight Friday, but was still uncomfortable. You had your mother's breathing machine and you started coughing up blood. You talked to your sister. Your sister said, no, we have to go to the hospital. Now you're back in the hospital, but not admitted yet. They're triaging you in
the
your
car.
car.
Mm.
Wow.
Yeah. So after they saw my vitals in the car, they said, you got to come in. They let me in. They told my sister, said, you wait in the parking lot if you want to. But this is where, this is where it ends right here. You got to go. And so they pulled me into the hospital, give me the chest x-ray, and then that's when they started coming with the things. The cool part, what happened was, at the same time, one of my best friends, Rashad, called me. And he was like, look, man, how you doing? I've been worried. And I told him what happened. I didn't tell him what the doctor said. I didn't tell anybody what the doctor said until after kind of, I was getting ready, so close to the time it was time for me to be released. But his mother called and prayed for me, and she didn't know what the doctor said, but she was like, look, I'm just going to, she, in her prayer, she rebuked the spirit of death.
Wow.
That was trying to take over me. She didn't know. I didn't tell her. I just told her I was in the hospital. That's all I said. I just said I'm in the hospital. They're checking me out. I had, you try to put your good voice, your good voice on, and then she prayed, and then, but it was a very, and I say it so kind of cavalier now, but it was a very, very. Leticia says very emotional. It's for her. That's exactly how it was. It was extremely emotional because you start wondering. You can't help but to wonder when you get a diagnosis like that, where your life is, what's going to happen.
Wow.
And
Have mercy.
it's a fight for what you're gonna go to. It's a fight not to panic.
Right.
It's a fight not to lose it in the hospital. And then if you do lose it, there's nobody there to comfort you. And then there's that. And then it's so many different levels of things that you go to. So what I did in that moment, tears is falling down my face, and it was just a very, very traumatic time for someone to tell you something like that. And so what I did was I started planning. I turned the television off, and because it was on NBC, and the NBC News was on or something like that, and they're telling me how many people were dying from this and how many Black men die from COVID-19, and you really don't need to be hearing that at that particular time. It just plays into everything that you're afraid for. You start wondering what your family's going to do without you and how it's going to destroy your family should something like this happen, and they got to go ahead and get a call. All of these different things kind of play out in your mind. And that's one of the things that no one really tells you about, because I don't know if that's their experience, but it was my experience. And what I started doing, ladies, is I started to plan my life for when I got out of the hospital.
Amen to that.
I said, just wait till I get out the hospital. I'm going to grill, and everybody's coming by the house. I kid you not. I said, my steak's going to be on fleek. I said, ain't nobody going to be doing no ribs like me.
Oh, and he can cook, sis. Listen, you want an invite up over there. Trust me on that. You want an invite.
I did. I started to plan my life. You see, because I knew I saw so much more beyond that day.
Amen.
And sometimes you got to see beyond the day. Now, if it was my time, I would have said, hey, it's my time, and that's it. You know what I'm saying?
And knowing you like I know you, I believe that 100%.
Yeah.
One of the things,
Leticia,
one of the things that I, as a friend to Charles, was going through this, there were times when I could only text because he just did not have enough breath capacity
at all.
And there were moments when he would just be like, I'm okay. And that was it. And I'd send back an emoji, and he'd send back an emoji, and we'd be done. And I'd be satisfied. Charles, can you describe for us what it was like receiving care during the during the quarantine. What was your daily routine like in ICU?
My daily routine was, well, it was 3 or 4 times a day when they would come to draw blood. They would gown up and then gown out and then leave. They
Wow.
give you your lunch or your meals in a large grocery bag,
Wow.
and through the crack of a door, they crack the door a little bit just so they can fit it in there, and they close the door behind it real quickly, and there
Mm.
you, and that's it. Because I was completely in isolation. You don't know, you don't see the sun, you don't get any fresh air.
Mm.
Wow. One of the things that I wanted to make the picture again clear was, we've spoken about this offline, but that isolation, that's a word that we keep hearing with this. And even offline, you've described it as just being so lonely. Can you speak to that?
It was, and see, mine was it was rough because next door to me, and I could hear another COVID-19 patient was in isolation, but they were older and they were experiencing dementia. So they would wake up in the middle of the night, maybe 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning or 9 or throughout the day, screaming
Oh my
um,
God.
and in terror.
Mm,
And for hours they would be screaming because they didn't know why they would forget why they were there.
mm,
They want their family and they asking for it and they can't find them. They think something happened to their family and they took them all kind of different things.
mm.
It is a very, um, it was nothing but the grace of God that kept my mind.
Have
You know what I'm
mercy.
saying?
Mm,
Yes.
I never, because and then not just that, it was people like you, Leticia, and my parents called and FaceTimed me, and you know what I'm saying, my friend, let me tell you what my boys did. My boys, Terrence Eldon, and Rashad, they all came, they all, these are guys I grew up with. They all got everybody who we found. They done found folk I ain't seen from 25 years from high school and put them on Zoom.
Oh Lord, zooming.
They Zoom is like, can what you doing at 4:30, Charles? I was like, what do you think I said, I'm meeting with the president. I'm gonna be right here in this room. It was like, well, Charles, I said, we got all of these people coming, and I was like, I didn't know how many people they were saying. It was like 20 people, 20 of us on Zoom, and we had missed, and it was just really. And I'm just gonna tell you something like that. Thank God for technology. But you
Yes.
know what I'm saying? But it just made my heart go out to older people who may not know that technology, and they're there by themselves. And it's just heart, because it let me know how heart-wrenching it is
Mm,
for your friends not to be able to come in to see you or to send you
yes.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
You can't send anybody anything. You can't send them any card, not even cards. You can't send them cards. You can't send them letters. You can't send them flowers, no balloons,
Wow.
nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so
It's
some people, they have lost loved ones, and it was the last time they saw them was when they dropped them off at the hospital a month ago, and now they'll never see them again alive. And it's just hard. And then what one of my friends told me, she said, we hear you and we call you and talk to you, and then we go home and we watch NBC. We
Mm,
go home and we watch the news on CBS.
yep.
And
Or
here we see the
CNN.
newspaper. We see newspaper, and another 500 people have died from what you dealing with in the hospital.
And you're in the hotbed. You're in Detroit.
Yeah, it's a hotbed. It's an absolute hotbed. But it was. I want to say it like this: it made all the difference in the world. And to have a support group like I had is just nothing short of a huge miracle. And
right.
so I'm so glad for that. But the battle does not stop once you get out of the hospital.
Right. Which is what my question is. So you were in ICU for how long?
I don't know if I was in ICU. They didn't tell me if I was in ICU. I didn't know. I know that where I was extremely critical. I was in the hospital in total for 12 days
Wow.
in isolation.
Wow.
Wow. That is
12
just,
days isolation.
that just has an impact just on your mentality, like your spirituality, your emotions. So now you're back at home. Describe your first night back at home. Were you still in quarantine? Were you able to have visitors? What were your discharge instructions?
I was in quarantine, and it was a week of the nurses coming by. It was a week. Incidentally, my birthday was that day. It was 2 days after that.
Oh,
Wow. Yep.
wow.
It sure was. Yep.
2 days after that. Yep. And so everybody's like, how you feeling? I was extremely tired. I knew it was hard to walk. It wasn't as hard to walk before, but it was very, very hard to walk. The most important thing was, it was just, I was still in quarantine. I couldn't have any visitors or anything like that.
Describe for us too how hard that was. Your mom just touches my heart. When you told me that she was sitting outside your apartment door, just talking through the door to you, just so that she could hear your voice.
I'm gonna tell you exactly how it was, Leticia. It was like this. She came by. Monique, my sister, brought her by for my birthday, and she was in the car. And I walked by the car and I said, "Hello, mother. You know what I'm saying? How you doing?" I said, "I'm fine. I'm out the hospital. I just had to, you know." And then it was maybe a few days later when I had the energy to go see my father at the house.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm not going to come in. I went on the patio and just waved to him and stuff like that. And I sat on the patio. He sat in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
The kitchen's off the patio. And we just kind of talked. And I was like, I'm okay. And I'm at the hospital. You know, it's like, you know, your parents look at you like, you know, you're doing better, but you're not the wheelchair. Yeah, they don't be convinced. You know? They don't be convinced. And I wasn't. They're right, I wasn't. And so it was, it's been a journey. It's been a journey of, I'm not mad. I'm not mad, because if I can help somebody else and if I can encourage somebody else, then it's all worth it all, you know. And I'm not worried. I'm just glad to be out, and I'm glad. And I told them when I was in the hospital, I promised the Lord. I said, "Hey, when you get me out, ain't no if."
Hey, when?
I said, when I get out of here, I'm telling everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because it could have easily have gone another way, and I know that. You know, the week that I came out of there, it wasn't easy.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't easy, but I was glad, I was just so glad to be home. I didn't care.
Right?
I was glad to be home, and a good friend of mine is a chef, and he made me some barbecue chicken and some stuff.
Oh, he nice. That's nice.
I thought I wasn't gonna be able to eat it. It lasted for like 10 minutes and it was gone. It was like inhaled by the time I got through. I was like, did I just inhale it? Where did it even go? And so, yeah, there was that. So I was glad, it's only limited things that you can eat and stuff like that. But I was so happy to be home, and I was extremely hungry. I was hungry and happy, grateful to be home. I didn't even care about I was in isolation.
Felt good to be in your own space, I bet.
It did. It felt so much better.
One last thing before you go. What is the message of care and hope that you would have for our listeners who are with us tonight?
Please take the restrictions seriously. And don't wait. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you, Leticia. You brought that. That's what I want to say. Don't wait. Don't wait for anything. Don't wait. Don't try to sleep it off. Don't try to drink it off. If you sense something is in your body that you can't breathe like you normally breathe, or you just don't feel like you normally do, even if you go and they say there's nothing wrong with you, go anyway. Go to the doctor and get yourself checked out. It doesn't matter. You're not less of a man or a woman if you do those things. Your black card will not be revoked. If you go to the doctor, you go to the doctor and have them check you out and make sure that everything is in order. And if you sense anything, if your toenail feels funny,
it might be COVID. It ain't on the list of symptoms, but it might be COVID. You better check it out.
Right.
You go check. You get your stuff checked out. You are worth it.
Yes. Come on, you are worth it.
Come on, Bishop. Come on. That's my nickname for him. Come on, Bishop.
You ain't worth it. You are worth it to go to have yourself. You deserve to be in good health. You deserve to have what you want. And if it's one of your bunions, speaking of, let the doctor say it's just your bunion, baby. But you go get yourself checked out.
For sure. Well,
So,
I am so happy to have met you and talk to you today, and so happy that you are alive, brother. Keep living. When we get on out here in these streets, I expect my invitation for one of these beautiful steaks or ribs you referenced
Hey,
earlier.
I don't
And
play.
you don't
and
play,
again,
sis.
keep yourself healthy and all the things that you got going on. Thank you so much for sharing your story with our listeners. We
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you.
All right, ladies. Thank you so much. Love you all to life. Thank you so much. And Pisces family listeners, y'all keep listening. These ladies have got it going on.
Hey, we thank you for that endorsement. I'll talk to you soon, my friend. Peace.
All right.
So we've just wrapped up our third installment of the COVID-19 special coverage that we're doing as part of Current Flow. And we thank Charles Smith Jr. for being with us tonight out of Detroit. He's in one of the hot spots. Again, we aim to bring you stories from the front lines in both Chicago and Detroit. And so tonight, a couple of things that I've learned. One of the things is takeaway. If you feel something, get it checked out. That's important, and get it checked out soon, and be persistent about it. So be persistent about it. If it's shortness of breath, or if it's one or two symptoms of the 9 that are out there now that to look for, even if it's one or two, insist, because as Charles reminded us tonight, you're worth it. Your future is worth it. Sis, you have other closing remarks?
And I would echo that, certainly, but I also want us to point to his timeline.
Yes.
So there's so much information that's being spread about this virus, and certainly there are some things that are standard, but there are other things that are not standard. So we're getting the CDC this week just released more information about symptoms. They've added things about blood clots and sores on your feet, which are, akin to what folks who are suffering with diabetes may see. So there are lots of things that are happening as this virus evolves. And so I don't want people to take these other symptoms for granted or take them lightly, like, oh, I'll get over that. I can just put some sass on that. I can just, manage that on my own. As with most diseases, viruses, and other serious illnesses, prevention is the key. But if you have the affliction, the timeliness of addressing it is what saves lives. So please, we want y'all around for a long, long time. Me and Leticia got a lot of shows to do. Got your whole lives, your families, and other things happening, and we want y'all around for a good long time. So just as within Charles' timeline, he said he started coughing in January.
And you know what, sis?
And that got him all the way until March. So we're talking about 3 months that he was struggling and suffering because he did not know, the doctors did not know, which of course blows up these conversations about 14 days. It seems like everybody is so fixated on 14 days when we clearly have a timeline that indicates that he was sick for a long time, and because of his pre-existing conditions, it got worse and he almost lost his life. And we just don't want that to happen to y'all, okay?
We don't want it to happen. And something else that you pointed out, sis, that I'll just tag on too. It was in January. Now, we know now, just fact, that there was notification in the health circles of WHO organization, the World Health Organization, for example. There was conversations in the CDC, the Center for Disease Control. There was conversation as early as December, before Christmas. Regarding how dangerous this coronavirus is, and also his timeline in January. I've talked to a few people, other people in my life, and including myself. When I got my flu shot in January, I was sick as a dog afterwards for about 2 weeks, to the point where, and I've shared this with the audience before over time, that I've suffered from asthma over the years, and it's gotten better with the more weight that I've lost. But In January, I literally had to go back to my doctor and I had to start using my inhalers regularly again in
Mm-hmm.
January. Now it's April, almost May, and I'm still using my inhalers sort of as a preventative, when I wake up in the morning, da 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
that type of thing. So, another person that I talked to, we talked about being in January in the school district. There was something that flew through the school district. It wiped out the wrestling team. They had to cancel matches. It
Mm-hmm.
wiped out the one of the other sports team. I want to say it was basketball, but I could be wrong. But it wiped out and wiped through this school system in particular. So we're hearing people say this might have been around in January, as early
Yeah.
as January,
It
which,
it was around even before that. I'm sorry to cut you off,
yes. No, no,
Patricia.
no, you're fine.
I have a colleague who spent part of November in Italy, and she came back. We went on
Uh-huh.
Christmas break. She became so ill,
Wow.
so ill to the point that she couldn't leave the house. Finally, one of her neighbors felt so bad, he took her to the doctor and said, "We just have to get you checked out, because if it's the
Right.
flu," because that's what he was thinking, "if it's the flu,
Mm-hmm.
then you can die from the flu. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
get you checked out." So he took her to the doctor, and the doctor said it's not the flu, but it feels like a severe upper respiratory kind of situation, and just kind of gave her some antibiotics to take. This was December, during Christmas break. She went during like the Thanksgiving holiday for 2 weeks, came back, and then we were working on projects until the week of Christmas, and then we were off until the second week of January. She was sick that entire time, and when she came back in January, she was not well and went back out sick for
Mm.
2 weeks, and still had a cough for weeks after that.
Wow.
And so we're now into February, which I believe because she was in Italy, and Italy was the hot spot
Right.
after
That's what jumped
China.
off right after China.
I said, I believe that she must have had it.
Mm.
So again, the
Ooh.
fact that the World Health Organization knew, the CDC knew, our government knew, and it was dismissed as something fleeting and not serious, just makes me want to say to the people who are listening, please take your health seriously, and
Please.
follow your gut. My father used to say, your gut ain't gonna lead you wrong. Now my gut tends to lead me to Steak and Shake. We that is when your gut is telling you something else. Don't listen to that part though. But when your gut is telling you that something ain't right or something
Uh-huh.
feels off, please follow through with that. We are in a time, fortunately for us, where there's a lot of information that's available on the interwebs. But unfortunately, also for us, a lot of it is false. So you
Mm-hmm.
have to kind of rely on your own trusted news sources and your peer folks to provide you good information, or to share information.
And the
But
Pisces life,
and
because
the
we
and
giving you good information.
that is the whole reason why we even started this series, is to
Yes.
ensure that you had some trusted voices that have done the research, that has talked to the experts in the field, and we're not just bringing you these stories because we haven't done the vetting on the back end.
Come
we
on.
we are over here investigating journalists,
Yes.
over here making it happen and do what it need to do for y'all. Okay,
That's right.
so
We bring you nothing but top shelf sources. Top shelf sources over
top
here.
shelf. Yes.
Hmm.
So y'all stay safe, okay? And if you have
Please.
questions, you can send those to the PiscesLife@gmail.com. If we
Mm-hmm.
know the answer, we gonna let you know what it is. If we don't know the answer, you better believe we gonna get somebody that's trusted, somebody that's reputable,
Yes.
and somebody that you will be able to feel comfortable accepting the answer from. Get that right on to you. So if you have questions or suggestions, comment, positive reviews. This is our art form, and don't be getting on our email, sending nothing negative now, my feelings. We still artists here.
I always say, like Erica Badu, now keep in mind that we're an artist and we're
Yes,
sensitive about our bleep.
absolutely. So send those questions, comments, reviews to the PiscesLife@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. Let us know how you feel in current flow too.
Let us know how you're feeling about current flow. And if you're looking for me, you can look for me and find me on the Twitter, on the Facebook, and on the Instagram at I am just LETITIA. Switched it up on you, didn't I?
I
am
see.
just Letitia.
I see.
Get a little fancy. And sis, if they're looking for you, where can they find you at, darling?
If they are looking for me, they can find me at Kai Loves You on Facebook and Twitter. And if you're on the Instagram, you can find me at Kai Loves You 2, the number.
Well, thank you again for joining us on our third installment of our special COVID-19 coverage. We are thrilled that you are back with us, and we continue to bring you information that we care about, that we know that you can use. And tonight, we wanted you to hear a survivor's story.
Yes.
We have more in store for you, but we wanted you to hear that while this is disproportionately, COVID-19 is disproportionately affecting us, Black and brown people, there are stories of victory.
And as our guest said, your life matters.
You matter to us, especially, baby. Thank you.
Peace out, y'all.
The Pisces life.